you got very involved in net neutrality. In fact, the FCC is going to be here in a couple of days on a net neutrality hearing.
Oh, they're doing a hearing here?
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is something that's very, very important to us. Now, what caught your attention about that, and what got you involved?
Well, I've been in did you know I was in the entertainment business before?
I heard that you had something to do in the entertainment business.
So I've been had my eye sort of on the consolidation of media as an issue for quite a while.
It's been pretty scary, as a matter of fact.
Well, it has been, but it gets scarier. The implications get scarier, and this is where it ultimately leads to net neutrality. Now, net neutrality sounds very arcane, so let me try to make it as basic and simple as possible. Basically, the website for your show goes as quickly to someone who's looking for it as the website to a show for Fox and if you have a mom and pop hardware store, you can receive that information, that website, as fast as for Ace Hardware or for some other big or a mom and pop store as fast as Target or something. That's net neutrality. That means we have everything travels at the same speed. Now, the internet service providers, the giant ones, have talked about charging for premium access, meaning if you're a corporation who can pay for faster access to the customer, well, then you please pay for it. So, in other words, pay for the pipes. This is the internet service providers want to create a faster premium access to people who will pay for it. And what that will do is it'll mean that you'll get Fox sooner than get you. You'll get, if someone wants to do a blog about they hated my appearance on the show, that will appear now as fast as the show online. And that's all good. And we have, because of the open free internet, things like YouTube, which was founded in a garage in San Mateo, was able to flourish because it was able to get to people as fast as it could. So what I'm afraid of is that the internet is really going to be, the internet service providers are going to be about 5 companies.
Well, didn't Google just make an arrangement with Verizon, which happens to be my server, and where they're talking about this very thing?
Mm-hmm. They're talking about keeping net neutrality on, but not on wireless. And ultimately, we're going to be all wireless, I think. Anyway.
But there are so many areas that are not wireless. There are so many areas, like take Minnesota, for instance, where we're first reaching out to greater Minnesota.
Well, we're trying to expand broadband. We're trying to do that. We have there's satellite. There's all different ways of transmission. But what I'm afraid of ultimately, and this is why I'm very much against the NBC Comcast merger, and why I'm particularly interested in this, is that if NBC and Comcast, NBC Universal and Comcast are allowed to merge, it will raise everybody's cable bills. Comcast is the largest cable provider. It's the largest land internet provider. So they will be able to charge more for NBC programming. Ostensibly, they'll be charging all the other cable carriers the same that they have to pay for NBC. But if they double what you pay for, and it's not just NBC, it's CNBC, MSNBC, they have, between them, 35 cable networks.
It goes right to the consumer.
It goes right to the consumer, and Comcast can double that and just take it out of one pocket and put it in the other if they've merged with NBC Universal. And so the first thing that's going to happen is that everyone in Minnesota, their cable bill is going to go up. And people care about that, and that's important. The other thing I'm very afraid of is, and this is one of the reasons that I have a unique perspective on this, on the antitrust subcommittee of the Judiciary Committee, is that I've seen this movie before. And there used to be a thing called FinCEN, it's Financial Syndication Rules, which the networks could not own the shows they aired on TV because the fear was that they would favor their own shows. And during the late 80s and early 90s, the networks said, we need you to eliminate these rules so we can own our own shows, or some of our own shows, but believe me, we will not favor our own programming. And
that was during the period when regulation was breaking down in so many areas that have come back to haunt us, be it banking or really cable, things like that.
Well, this was actually a little earlier than. Well, actually, you're right. This is this is a little earlier than getting rid of Glass-Steagall and the other banking stuff. Right. This is precedes that by about 8 or 9 years. But what happened was FinCEN was rescinded. The networks were able to own their own shows, and I want people to follow this, because what happened is that they immediately flipped. They said, we can own our own shows. Well, that means if you are an independent producer and you want your show on our network, you got to give us part ownership of it. And also we're going to favor our own shows. And what that did was it allowed Disney to buy ABC. It gave them an incentive to buy ABC because Disney just went, oh, great, we got a place to put all our own programming. So they bought ABC, Viacom bought CBS. Viacom is Paramount and other things. And NBC merged with Universal. And Fox is Fox. They allowed Fox to be Fox. So they produced their own programming. So what happened is it drove independent producers out, and it consolidated the media. Now, my fear is if Comcast, which is the largest cable provider and the third largest internet service provider and the largest landline service provider, if that is allowed to do this with NBC, why aren't Verizon and AT&T going to say, you know what, we've got to buy ABC, we've got to buy NBC? Then you have a few companies, 4 companies, controlling almost all the information that everyone gets. And if they start charging more for faster access, and Congress would have to allow them to do that, I think, then, or the FCC, and there's a battle now going on there, both in court and negotiations within the industry and with the FCC. If that were allowed to happen, Katie barred the door.